on my blog, TorontoRealtyBlog.com, I'm known as the Real Estate Insider. I tell it like it is. I talk about a lot of things that real estate agents will not talk about because I think that consumers deserve more information. In the last few years, we've seen a big shift in the way that both real estate agents market and some of the websites that have come out as well, which I'll touch on briefly. And again, last thing, just so you know, I'm not just some real estate agent. Again, the risk of sounding brash, there's 40,000 real estate agents in Toronto. I was ranked top 200 last year. Just so you know that I am very opinionated, but these opinions are backed up to some extent. Okay, so getting started as a buyer, these guys touched on some very important points. Where do you get started? Now, MLS.ca, Realtor.ca, that's the CREA, Canadian Real Estate Association website. There are better websites, and again, my colleagues would not like me to say that because everyone's supposed to go to Realtor.ca, but sites like Zoocasa and Zola, you probably don't want to use the real estate agents they're advertising, but the interface is better. Something like condos.ca, and again, this is my competitor, Carl Langschmidt, but they've developed an unbelievable real estate portal, condos.ca. You can look up absolutely anything there is to know about condominiums. These are some of the better tools that we didn't have a few years ago. So, the pamphlet that we've handed out, that's something I wrote a while back for the grid. How to choose a real estate agent. The first thing I wrote in there, guys, is that I'm not the right real estate agent for everybody, and nobody is. Okay, there has to be a fit. So if you're 25 years old, you probably shouldn't be working with your grandparents' real estate agents who's 75. They don't know anything about downtown condos. By the same token, if you came to me and you said, David, I want you to help me buy something in Oakville, I'm not an Oakville agent. That's just not the way that I work. You need to find a good fit. There are a lot of brokers out there, like I mentioned, the Zola and the Zoocasa. They advertise, buy with us and get a rebate. If that's your thing, fine. Again, take it with a grain of salt. I'm a bit biased, obviously. I think if you're going for laser eye surgery and it was $2,000 and someone would do it for $300, you might, think about paying the $2,000, getting it done by a professional. That's my philosophy. You don't pay to use a buyer agent services. There are websites that offer you that rebate. In my honest opinion, they're probably not the best agents. It's the biggest purchase you're ever going to make. Find someone that you can work with. And as these guys mentioned, get a mortgage pre-approval. Not just because you're locking in the rate, but because I've seen it time and time again. You're pre-approved, or at least you think you are, because you've used your mortgage calculator. You think that you can afford $400,000. You get pre-approved, and it turns out you can only afford $350,000. It's all downhill from there. Now it's a big disappointment, and you have to start the search all over. So get the mortgage pre-approval done. Find a real estate agent that you can work with. You don't necessarily have to sign one of those contracts. I don't sign contracts with my buyers. I work with people that want to work with me. And that's as respect and building trust. You're free to go anywhere at any time if you don't want to use my services. The search process, how long should it take? There's no right or wrong answer. I've had clients I've taken out the first weekend. They knew exactly what they want. They had prepared in advance. We looked at 6 places. One was the dream place. I've had clients take 12 months to buy. Unfortunately, with the market going up 8.5% last year, you take 12 months to buy. Your $1 million place is $1,080,000, or your $300,000 place is $325,000. But there is no right or wrong answer. It takes as long as it's going to take. Let's look at the market overall. And this chart, okay. Some of you guys work in finance, so there's fundamental analysis and technical analysis. If some of you guys saw this chart for a stock, you would say, wow, this thing's peaking. I don't know if the market's going to go up, down, or sideways. I don't profess to. I'm not a real estate bear, I'm not a real estate bull. In 2008, when Garth Turner started making all of his big money, projecting the market was going to collapse, 25 to 50% drop, he said. Since then, houses have gone up 50%. And I say that in hindsight, of course, but the reality is I don't know what's going to happen with the market. If you want to get into the market, I don't think it's a bad time. If you want to continue to rent or sell, that's completely up to you. But the market has gone up 17 years in a row. My own personal feeling, which is a long conversation, as everything we're talking about today is, I don't see it going down. And again, long conversation, I just see Toronto as a world-class city. Believe it or not, with all the cranes you see in the sky, the city cannot build condos fast enough to satisfy the demand. That's why they continue to go up. Houses will continue to go up. They're not building any more houses. Unless you tear down a bungalow and build 2 semis in its place, there will never be more houses added. And a lot of you guys in this room are probably looking at entry-level condos, they're looking at renting, maybe some move-up buyers. Again, we'll leave houses towards the end. We're going to focus on condos for the most part. The average price of the Toronto property, and that includes houses, condos, high-end and low-end, last year was about $565,000. The average price of a detached house, just shy of $1 million. The average price of a condo, $400,000. But that's not to say that if you're looking at a $300,000 condo, yes, you can still get in. And we'll touch on this as it applies to different areas and different locations. $350,000 in one area might be a 1-bed plus den, 2-bath with parking. In another area, you can't even get a bachelor. So we'll touch on that in a bit. Areas of interest. Houses and condos are very different. We're downtown right now. There are no condos right here. We're in the financial core. Some of the most popular areas for condominiums. I live in the St. Lawrence Market area, or King East as some people call it. We've got the Distillery District. We've got Corktown that's in between. King West, where all the nightclubs and all the bars and restaurants are. Liberty Village is a mecca for young people in condominiums. We've got the waterfront, which, you know what, I haven't sold a ton down there. I know where the business goes. Toronto's waterfront is not amazing. I find a lot of professional athletes come here. That's where everybody on the Raptors and the Jays, that's where they all live, because in any world-class city, it's about the waterfront. Here we find very quickly there's no infrastructure, and it's very cold, it's very windy, and very desolate. And I apologize if you have to live down there, but as I said, I call it like I see it. I have not sold a property down there in about 8 years, and I do about 65 to 70 transactions a year, so again, I go where the business goes. Should be knocking this area, that was a bit off topic. For houses, there's not a lot of houses in the central core. You have to go east or west or north. Leslieville, Riverdale, on the other side of Don Valley Parkway, very popular. Danforth Village, as you move towards, let's say, Woodbine, deals get a little bit better. If you go north from here, areas like Leaside, Davisville Village, Lawrence Park, it's probably not a topic for today for a lot of us who are a little bit younger. Let's leave houses to the end if we have time, as I think we're going to probably focus on condos. So something I refer to as the real estate cycle. There's 4 different types of people in this room. There's those of you that are living at home, those of you that are currently renting, and if you're renting, you're either renting on your own or with a roommate, those of you that own, and those of you that are looking to buy up. So most salespeople are going to come in here and say you have to buy. Again, I'm not most salespeople. Living at home is awesome. Your parents pay for everything. You don't have to cook, you don't have to clean, your laundry's done, dinner is ready. It's amazing. Why would you ever want to leave? I guess when you're 35 years old, it's probably time. It's not the worst situation in the world, but again, you have to decide, do I want to get out and start paying rent? Do I want to get out and start paying a mortgage? Entry-level rentals in Toronto. Again, I'm not going to say everyone has to buy. If you, let's say, are new to the city, you grew up in London, you went to school there, you've never been to Toronto your entire life, you can't really be expected to come in and buy a property in Toronto. Renting is a decent option. But you have to decide, if I'm going to rent, and let's say it's $1,700 to rent this place, and it's $2,300 to buy it, but as these folks explained, part of your mortgage is principal. So let's say that it was $1,700 to rent and $1,900 to buy. Does it make sense? Financially, you should probably be renting it. But that gap is what we call pride of ownership. Personally, I love my condo. I love renovating it. I love updating it. I'm out there watering my trees. I wouldn't do any of that if I was paying down someone else's mortgage. It's that pride of ownership. There has to be value to it. To give you an example that may or may not go over well, Saturday night my wife wanted to go out. I hate going out because I'm 34 years old, and that's why I got married. Wanted to go out to a bar, it was so-and-so's birthday, it was, so-and-so had the pre-drink. I don't want to do any of that. So we made an agreement. She said, fine, you stay home, I'm not going to dress. And I said, awesome, that's perfect. So for about $200, or at least that's what she told me, I got to stay home. I watched hockey, I ate pizza, and I hung out with my dog. $200, that's all it cost me. Now the alternative, of course, is for me to go out, but I didn't want to do that. Okay, and that was the value to me. God, I hope it was 200. I gotta check it. But there's something to be said for pride of ownership. Okay, and when you're renting, it's not the same thing as when you're buying. And maybe you disagree, and that's fine. Then go rent. Or if you do agree, then go buy. But there is a difference between various living situations. So we'll talk about condos now, and this is going to take up the bulk. Again, unenviable task of discussing condos in what, 8-10 minutes. The costs we'll touch on first. Your mortgage is the big one. And you have to make sure that you know how much you're paying in principal and interest. If it's $1,600 a month and $400 is principal, it's $1,200 in interest. So stop thinking that it's a $1,600 mortgage payment. You have maintenance fees. I know maintenance fees suck. A lot of people think of them as a sunk cost. But if your maintenance fees include your heat, your hydro, your water, your building insurance, it's probably half of it right there. If you were living in a house, you either shovel your own walk or pay someone to do it. You either rake your own leaves or pay someone to do it. And if your roof caved in, you'd have to pay for it. Living in a condominium is part of the maintenance fees are for operating costs and part of them are for the reserve fund. So when $1 million repair is needed, there's 500 unit owners, they don't knock on everyone's door and just divide $1 million by 500 people. There's a reserve fund, and that's what it pays for, and that's why we pay maintenance fees. Plus there's a concierge there to accept our packages. We don't have to drive to Canada Post. I park underground. I don't have to shovel snow. Again, there's a cost associated with this. It is a very nice style of living. Your utilities. heat, hydro, water. They may or may not be included in the maintenance fees, your property taxes, and of course your upgrades. Make no mistake, you will spend money on your condo, and I think that you have to. Something I call keeping it current. If you bought a condo today, and you lived there for 5 years, and you sold it in 5 years, it would be 5 years out of date, because styles change every single day. Okay, if you have somebody walk in there, you don't have stainless steel appliances, you don't have granite countertops, and all that stuff that we know that you can change, there's a subset of the buyers, they don't want to either do the renovation or they just can't see past it. So you have to keep your condo current. Do one thing a year. Year 1, rip out the crappy laminate, put in hardwood. Year 2, put in a nice crown molding. Year 3, replace all those awful light fixtures, what we call the builder bulb that cost $1. Go to Union Lighting, spend a weekend, go in, pick up some light fixtures, have an electrician install them. Do one thing a year to keep your condo current. You guys mentioned the average time of Canadians in a house is for about 3 years. I see this all the time. People buy a condo, you think you're going to be there for 10 years. You're 25 years old, I guarantee you buy your first condo, you will not be there when you're 35. Life changes, you outgrow it, you get married, or engaged, or have a kid, or you move to New York for a better job. You will ultimately leave that place, so don't make the mistake of assuming you're going to be there too long. Something I call the real estate equation. This is very important if you're just starting the process. A plus B equals C. Remember that in school? You have 2 of them, you can figure out the third by dividing and multiplying. The property, the location, and the price. If you know 2 of them, you can find the third. So let's say your price with your pre-approval is for $400,000, and the property you want, I want a brick and beam loft like you see in the movies, I want 10-foot ceilings, I want parking, I want an 800 square feet. So I know your price and the property, I can tell you where you can find it. In this case, probably nowhere, because that's an unrealistic example. But working backwards, let's say that you've got the opposite. Let's say that you've got $400,000 pre-approval and you've got the location. I want to be in the St. Lawrence market area. What can I get? Well, from there I can tell you, and it varies based on the building. In a brand new building, maybe a 1-bed, parking, maybe a little den nook. In an older building, maybe you can get a 2-bed, 2-bath. So if you can figure out the 2, and chances are price will always be determined. You know what you can afford and where you want to do it, I can tell you what you'll get. Or if you say, I am set on a 2-bed with parking, I don't care where it is, I have to get it for $350. I can tell you it won't be anywhere near the downtown core, but figure out 2 of those 3 tenants and you can figure out the third. As I mentioned, locations for condominiums. Touch on them again. Liberty Village, pros and cons. Very cheap, tons of infrastructure. Some people think it's a little bit too busy. I have a ton of clients in there. The infrastructure is phenomenal. You've got your Good Life, which was ranked the best place to meet a member of the opposite sex. So I guarantee if you're moving there, you will be married within 18 months. It's a great area. It's a little busy. A lot of condos going up, but it's still close to the downtown core. Where I live, St. Lawrence Market area. I absolutely love it. I've lived there for 10 years. I've owned in 6 different condos. I've lived in 2. I love the St. Lawrence Market area. Love how close it is to walk to downtown, even though I don't work here, obviously. It's next to the park. Pros and cons to every area. My building, for example, they micromanage us. They treat us like children. Every day, there's a new sign outside that says, don't flick your cigarette butts off the railing. People are going to do that, or they're not. A sign is not going to help. Every building is different. And I give you this example because this is what I go through on a daily basis. You have to decide what you are looking for, and ultimately, I could live in a better or worse managed building, probably wouldn't have the maintenance fees that I do. But I love the St. Lawrence Market area. I love Distillery District. I love the Corktown area, which is exactly in between. Liberty Village, I'm a huge fan of. King West, tons of buildings, a little more expensive. But again, play around with the tools online, map them, take a look at where they are, and figure out sort of where you want to focus. I do get a lot of people that go, I want to be either King East or King West. You start to see the difference. One's 400,000, one's 430. Where would I rather live? We'll talk about different kinds of styles here. Some things you can change, some things you can't, and this is important. What can you change? You can change flooring, okay? Don't buy a place based on flooring. Stainless steel appliances, great. Go into Boxing Day, buy yourself some new appliances. A lot of things you can change. These lights, you don't like them, fine. Rip out this crown molding, fine. What can't you change? Ceiling height. Who cares about ceiling height? I had 8-foot ceilings in my first place, I have 10.5 now. It makes a massive difference. 600 square foot condo would feel like 700. You can't change whether or not you have outdoor space. Some people don't need it, why pay for it? Some people love it. I've had a big terrace in every place I've ever had. My colleague says to me, great, I bet you enjoy it for 2.5 months of the year. And I do, but you pay for it. You can't change the layout. When you walk into your condo, and probably you've been to some friends' places, or hopefully it's not the one you're living in and own, you open the front door, you walk down a hallway, you walk down another hallway, then you walk down another hallway. Congratulations, that hallway costs you $80,000. You cannot change the layout. I like it when you open it up and everything's there, no wasted space. So differentiate the things between the things that you can change and the things that you can't when you're looking. Don't just look inside and go, wow, this place is really old looking. You can change that. If it's a square plan, has no wasted space, nice terrace, nice view, no parking lot in front, it's actually a park. It's never going to be built upon. The view's never going to change. Very important to differentiate between those things. Building amenities. Anyone ever go bowling in their building? Do you swim in the pool? I would never get in that hot tub. I don't want to know what's happening in that hot tub. I don't want to think about it. I wouldn't use it. I don't want to pay for it. You're going to pay for building amenities. So decide right off the bat, when you go into a building, the maintenance fees are 80 cents per square foot, and that's how they're calculated based on your unit. And you've got all these things. Virtual golf, I don't have time to play golf, let alone virtual golf. So why would I need a virtual golf simulator in my building? You have to decide if you want to be in a high amenity building, and ultimately if you want to pay for it, because you will. And the last point I want to make on this, one of the first things you should determine if you're looking at a condo, do I need parking? I have this conversation with everyone that calls me, do you need parking? They go, well, you know, I'd like to have, no. Do you need parking? Do you have a car? Do you drive every day? Do you need it? Because it's 30 grand on average in Toronto. A $300,000 condo with no parking is $330 with. So if you say, well, I have a car, but I don't really use it, it's up to you if you want to spend that 30 grand, because $330, let's say with no parking, maybe it's a 1+ den. $330 with parking is a 1-bed. Would you rather have the den that you're going to use or someone's going to sleep in? Don't encourage them to crash there. That's the problem with dens, of course, people sleep in them. But you have to decide, are you going to use the parking space? Okay, pre-construction condominiums I want to talk about. Very hot topic. One of the things I'm most passionate about. Kevin Hart, really? One of the things I'm most passionate about when it comes to real estate is pre-construction condominiums. As I said, on my blog, I've been talking about this for years. I wish people would have listened. I make you this promise. I guarantee you, you walk into any sales center in Toronto today, put down a deposit to buy a pre-construction condo that's ready in 2018, you will lose money. I guarantee it. I will give you the keys to my condo if I'm wrong. I can make twice as much money selling pre-construction condominiums, but I choose not to because it's a fool's game. It bothers me as a real estate agent. The way that the industry works in Ontario in pre-construction sales is unlike any other place on the planet. And this, guys, could be a 3-hour seminar, okay? But to give you an example, and I use the cake and the cake mix analogy, it used to be, let's say you could buy cake for $5, or you could buy cake mix for $1. It might make sense to buy the cake mix for the $1, make the cake yourself because it costs you $5 for the cake. That's the way pre-construction condos were in 2003, okay? Property costs $200,000, hole in the ground next door, $125,000 for the same thing. It's going to be ready in 3 years. You take on the risk and you take on the time and you wait and you make that profit. This gap shrunk up until about 2010, 2011. Developers thought, geez, everyone's lined up to buy a pre-construction condo. Why am I undercharging? Today, not only do they charge tomorrow's prices, okay, they can take 2 years for the property to register, and you're paying a fee every month. It's not a mortgage, it's a fee. It's called an occupancy fee and you can't get out of it. People are bleeding money in a building like Couture, 25 months to register, $2,000 a month, $50,000 that you're never going to get back. And guess what? You can't say no when they slap you with breach of contract. Material changes. You thought you were getting 9-foot ceilings, you're getting 8. Sorry, you don't like it? Read your agreement, talk to your lawyer. The building was supposed to have a pool on the roof. Forget about a pool, I'll settle for anything. Gym? No. Concierge? No. They can change whatever they want. Google what happened with up at Fairview Mall. And there's a lawsuit going on which they'll never win. The developer sold condos predicated on the fact that there would be access to the underground TTC. Guess what? They just didn't do it. And guess what? Fully within their right. They can change anything, and they do, and they will. And as I said, I can make far more money selling this. You get a 4 to 5% commission as a real estate agent to go in there and sell one of their pieces of crap, as opposed to 2.5% in the resale market. But why would I do that? Because it'd be like every other pre-construction real estate agent who's effectively screwing their clients. To be perfectly blunt, and I apologize, but it's something that's really bothered me. The Condominium Act was written in 1997, which means it was probably started in 94, 95. It is so out of date, and it hasn't been rewritten. You don't think the developers have figured this thing out yet? There are massive, massive problems with the way these properties are bought and sold. There's two groups of people still buying them. Number one, international investors come from countries with maybe political instability where you just want to take your money out. You don't care where it goes, but you just want to put it into Canada. Not the actual Bank of Canada, but Canada, which serves as a bank. And then unfortunately there's people that just don't know any better. And I get a call probably once a week because ironically when you Google pre-construction Toronto, some blog article I've written comes up. I get calls from people. Saskatoon, woman says, "Oh, I don't know what to do. I owe them another $50,000. What did you buy? What did you pay?" And I look at it and I go, "Jesus, it's not even worth that today. I bought it in 2011." When you close your deal, they're going to charge back all their costs to you. Their development charges, their law society fees, their eco fees, their park fees. Read that contract and see what they charge back to you. And again, I could go on and on about this all day. But the other analogy I have is walking into a store and buying a pair of jeans. Okay, so you walk into a store and you go, "I'd like to buy a pair of jeans. There's no jeans here. We'll make you a pair of jeans." Why wouldn't you try them on and see if they fit? Why wouldn't you see the jeans and see if it's got holes in it? What if there's 6 pockets on one side and 1 on the other? What if the jeans are made and there's no pockets? What if there's no zipper? What if you wanted button fly and they gave you a zipper? What if the zipper was on the back? And then you come back 3 weeks later when the jeans are supposed to be ready. Not only are they not ready, but they haven't even started making the jeans. So if you wouldn't buy a $100 pair of jeans like that, why the hell would you buy a $400,000 property like that? And I'm sure someone in this room has either bought one, and if you did, you made money. Guarantee it wasn't this year. 2004, you could throw a dart at a board and make money in pre-construction condos. But honestly, guys, you'll go to that sales center, really pretty girl or a guy, chiseled cheekbones, he's a model. He has a real estate license, but he's a model. And they will treat you like no other real estate agent will. But they work for the developer, don't forget. And that person represents your interests. And then you have a 10-day cooling off period under law, and you don't go have a lawyer review it because you think it's a 10-day do I want to do it period. Everyone that doesn't have the lawyer review it, $300,000 condo, you go to close, that'll be $48,000 in adjustments. And you go, what the hell is this $48,000? What am I paying for? Read your agreement. Then you have a lawyer review it. You can go and Google this kind of stuff. People tell horror stories, and I've seen it. I've been on the other end of the phone with people crying. What am I going to do? I know the developer 50 grand on January 1st. I don't have it. Can you sell it for me? What am I going to sell? You don't have anything. It's a hole in the ground. It's not a condominium. It's a hole in the ground, and it's actually a liability because you owe them another $50,000. That sounds like a liability, not an asset. Anyways, I could go on and on about this all day, but there are just far, far too many risks in pre-construction condos. Buy what you can actually go inside and touch and feel. Do a review of the building status certificate. See if there's money in the reserve fund, if the budget works out. Find out what the rules and regulations are. I don't understand why people continue to buy when there is, and has not been for years, any discount. Touch briefly on houses. Completely different world from condominiums. If you're in the market for a house, first of all, congratulations, they're not cheap. Secondly, the way that houses are sold is not ideal. Most properties have multiple offers. Most good properties anyways. There was a time when people would come to me and they'd say, I don't want to bid on a house. No one does that anymore because I think the public has kind of accepted this is just the way that it works. You have to ask yourself, me and my wife were in the market for a house. Oh, we don't want to bid on a house. Do you think you're the only people in the city of Toronto with all these people that like that house? It doesn't work like that. In a perfect world, yes, you would go and look at it, you take 3 weeks to make up your mind, you do it conditional on 8 different things, you take your time, you negotiate. If a house comes out right now in Leslieville for $699, offers will be reviewed next Tuesday. That's how it works, 7 o'clock, show up, bring a checkbook. That's the way it is. We can't change it. It's not going to change unless the market changes. There's 14 offers, it sells for $825. That's the way that it is. The last time I sold a property that wasn't in competition was something that had been sitting on the market rotting that was overpriced. That's what you get, okay? And I know it's not a fun way to buy a house, but that's a reality. And I can see a lot of people are like, oh, I can't believe he's saying this. I don't want to delude people into thinking that it's something different. You walk into a property that's $699, and there's 50 pairs of shoes sitting at the front door. That's all those people that are interested, along with you guys. And it says offers reviewed next Tuesday. If you're the person that says, I like it at $650, your real estate agent needs to say to you, no, I'm sorry. It's an $800,000 property, it's not for $800,000. Your real estate agent says, great, let's do it, put it on paper. They're not helping you, okay? I wish it was different, but it is not. We're just simply out of land in Toronto. And when you look at other bubbles around the world, like take what happened in Dubai, I mean, their real estate market went insane. But look how much land there is. It's just sand, middle of nowhere. This tower is selling like crazy. You can build 3 towers right next to it. You can't do that. You go to Leslieville right now, where are you going to build more houses? You go to Riverdale, great schools, great parks, great infrastructure, great transit. Where are you going to build more houses? You can't. And everyone, I'm sure, apples to apples, would rather have a house than a condo. I'd rather live in a condo because it works 7 days a week. But apples to apples, you'd probably rather have a house. And that's why house prices are the way they are. And that's why it's not going to change. Time? All right. Can't believe I got all that out. So there's a lot to talk about in real estate. And I had a tough task of doing all that within 20 minutes or less. The reality is a lot of you guys are looking at condos. Some of you should look at the numbers. Does it make sense to rent? Does it make sense to buy? I'm not going to push you either way. Buying a condo is great. Every client I've ever had has made money. I mean, it's a nice thing to say, but that's because, as you saw with the graph earlier, prices just continue to rise. If you have any questions, you can email me. You can hang out afterwards. Casey, who's here with me now, works on my team as a buyer agent. We're out every single day, every single night, looking at properties. I am a very opinionated real estate agent when it comes to condominiums. If you send me a list of 20 properties on the market, I'll find one that I like. That's my value, as I said at the beginning. 40,000 real estate agents in the market, it's completely saturated. And I can be honest about that, whereas most agents aren't, because they want to keep their job. But it is a very, very difficult game out there. There's a big difference between one building and the next. Either the age of the building, the maintenance fees, the reserve fund, how much is in it, the resale potential for that. I like to sell things that are relatively new. Not brand new, pre-construction we talked about, but even brand new, we just got registered. You haven't done an engineering study of the building, you haven't released a budget, you haven't done a reserve fund study. I like to sell it after the first year to see what's up. I also don't like to sell things to anybody in this room. A building that's, say, older than 10 years old, you're going to resell it in 3 years. You want something that was a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years old. Okay, there is a lot of product out there. And if I log on to MLS right now and say I look between 300 and 350, and I've done this before, I did this with Michelle this morning. There was 2 condos out of 100 that I thought I would show that to a client. And that is the problem with Toronto. So many buildings, so many condos, so much junk out there, and you need to be able to sort and wade through it. Anyways, okay guys, if that's it, thank you so much for coming. If you take the pamphlet on how to choose a real estate agent, it's meant to give you a little bit of a chuckle. But as well, you can take some of my information at the front. If you want to get in touch with Casey and I and ask a few questions, let me know. Thanks guys.